Welcome to Ask the Expert North Texas for Monday, August 22nd. I'm David Rankin.
And I'm Kristen Diaz. Already, we've been seeing record-breaking, rainfall here in North Texas, and it is causing a lot of problems on the road today. Already, have we seen some roads start to recede with the floodwaters, and what is being left behind? Stranded vehicles, and that's going to be a problem once people start getting out and about again. And joining us is Rich Johnson with the Texas Insurance Council, the Texas Insurance Council, and wanted to know about whose responsibility is it to get these cars out of the road?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We're always trying to get information like this out to the public. Hopefully we're getting it out beforehand, but talking during the event, that's when everybody wants to hear about it. So for the most part, it's really the driver's responsibility. If they can get it off the road safely themselves or call their own tow truck. Otherwise, it's going to be towed by the police department, and then you never know where it's going to go. If it's at an impound lot, there's going to be fees associated with that. So whether you have a roadside service or roadside service is included in your insurance policy, which many insurance companies have nowadays, it's best to use that service while you can. That's why you have it.
What's the time frame for people to get their cars out of the way before the police department says, okay, you won't do it, we will?
I really don't know. I would imagine that it's probably, just kind of anecdotally driving along the side of the road, I would say it's probably no more than about 2 or 3 days. It seems as though, you see those big stickers stuck on the windows within a pretty short amount of time. Just looking at accidents, maybe there's a little bit of leeway after an event like this, but for the most part, they need those cars out of the way so they're not impeding traffic or being, so it's not a safety hazard.
Yeah, let's talk about the insurance coverage. Let's say you have car insurance. Will that cover the wrecker service or the roadside assistance? Or what do people actually need to make sure that they're signing up for in case they find themselves in a situation like this?
Yeah, first and foremost, the damage to your car due to flood. You kind of have your collision, which is going to cover you if you're in an accident. You're going to have your liability, which is anything that the other person that you were in an accident with may come after you for as far as medical. But then there's also that comprehensive coverage is the thing that covers kind of everything else. That's a broken windshield, and in this case, flooding. So if you don't have that comprehensive coverage, then the damage to your vehicle is not going to be covered by your insurance company. So you need to look to make sure what kind of coverages you have. And then as far as the record, getting your car off the road, some insurance companies offer that. Maybe it's a couple dollars a month that you have that tow service that's included, or if you have a roadside, a separate company that may handle roadside service for you. We'll say AAA. That's probably the most common that we know. If you have a service like that, then that's the time to use it.
Do you still see a lot of people that will reduce their insurance coverage once they've paid off the car, so they only have liability?
Yeah, that is very common. They're trying to save a few dollars a month, or maybe the car is old enough that they might be comfortable paying out of pocket to replace it. But again, they're only thinking of those, if it's a total loss, I want to pay X amount of dollars, or the car's just not worth that much. But there's so many other factors in there. Work with your insurance professional to find that right policy for you, because sometimes they're trying to save a couple bucks on the front end and removing certain coverages. But man, in the long run, if you do total your car, or even if it's an inconvenience where it's windshield here, some other kind of damage there, that comprehensive coverage is usually not that expensive, and it kind of pays off in the long run.
Let's talk about home and renters insurance. With all of this heavy rainfall, inevitably somebody who is listening right now is seeing a leak and they don't like it. What kind of coverage should they start, or how should they start filing their claims?
Yeah, so the important thing here is your typical homeowner's policy and a lot of renters policies actually don't cover flood. So if you have homeowners insurance, through whatever company it might be, They probably don't cover flood. You usually have to buy flood insurance through a separate private company. There are some companies out there that are writing flood coverage, but the primary source of flood coverage is actually the federal government through the NFIP, or the National Flood Insurance Program. And so it's a relatively inexpensive. You can either contact FEMA directly, which is where the program is run through, or contact your insurance company. Most insurance companies can sell a federal policy for flood insurance, but it's not your normal homeowners insurance policy. There are a lot of companies out there that are covering renters with flood. You just got to check your policy just to make sure, because usually that renters policies is just your personal goods, your furniture, your clothing, electronics, that type of thing. It's not the structure, because the structure should be covered by whatever insurance your landlord or the owner of the building has.
So you're more responsible for your own goods inside as opposed to the foundation or the flooding of the floors and what have you, because you don't own the house.
That's exactly it. So you're a tenant. The things that you are responsible for, that you're going to be paying out of pocket for, are the things that you own. So if you were to take a house, shake it upside down, and everything that falls out is yours, and everything else is usually the landlord's.
Something that I've noticed just looking through social media posts today, a lot of people, for example, who have some of these new townhomes near the downtown area, they're not necessarily near the Trinity River. They're not near any body of water. They're not near White Rock Lake, for example. They're not near anything that a body of water could possibly overflow and get into the area. But we've been in such an extreme drought.
Yep.
This is what's causing the flash flooding, and they're in a low-lying area. So some of these home builders and just new home buyers, should they be buying flood insurance regardless, at what stage plane they live at?
Yeah, we recommend they do. Right now, it's really low. There's only 14% of Texans actually have flood insurance. That's pretty low out of the 7 million plus policies that are here in Texas. There's only a couple thousand really that have flood insurance, and in Dallas alone, there's less than 5,000 flood insurance policies throughout all of Dallas, and that's really, really low. And you're right, it's the land. We're in this drought, it can't handle it. But when you have rain like that, even if the land was ready, it's the utility, the pipes and the sewage systems that can't handle that much rain. And so those are all the things that you need to think about. So, if we look back 5 years ago, this week is the 5-year anniversary of Hurricane Harvey, and in the Houston area, 75% of the homes that were flooded weren't in a floodplain at all. It was just because there was so much rain that impacted that area, that there was just complete devastation. And so just because you're not in a floodplain doesn't mean you're out of the woods when it comes to flooding.
Let's go back to cars for just a second. If someone has made the mistake of driving through a flooded area and their car has flooded, what's the process like for trying to get insurance money, claims?
Yeah, it's just like anything else. So yeah, so what we recommend is document the damage. Take pictures, take video of everything that happened. Hopefully, maybe you kept a record of what your car looked like before, but it's pretty easy to tell when a car has been flooded. So document it. Turn that information into your insurance company and start a claim. These days, starting a claim is super easy. It's usually on your phone. Most companies have an app that you can file a claim with, or online, or give them a call. But they're going to want to see that information. They'll send an adjuster out to take their own photos, but that may be a few days or a week after the incident. And so you kind of want that instant documentation to get the process started.
You mentioned Hurricane Harvey, and it just sparked a memory of a lot of people who had their cars flooded. Their insurance did not cover for them to get a rental car while they, were getting their primary vehicle fixed. How is that situation like now? Because even during the pandemic, there was such a shortage, or the early, stages of the pandemic, I should say, there was such a shortage of rental cars. Is that an issue for some people?
Yeah, I think whenever there's a big incident like a flood, or we were seeing during the pandemic, there's always going to be a risk of rental car shortages. But again, it depends on your coverage. A lot of people Again, we go back to the, saving some money, which everyone's trying to do these days. But there's usually an extra charge on there for that rental car coverage. So make sure, if that's a concern for you, make sure that you have that. And look at the limits. Sometimes there's, maybe you only get a car for 30 days or maybe 45 days, or there's a dollar limit. Maybe you're only going to get, $1,000 or $500 worth of rental fees, and that adds up pretty quick. And so it can shorten that amount of time that you're going to have a rental car available to you while your car's getting repaired.
What are the biggest mistakes that people make in dealing with flooding with their cars and their homes?
Well, I think a lot of it is well, number one, not having flood insurance. I think that's the biggest thing as far as homes go. But one of the biggest things is after the fact that, all of a sudden you see all these sweet deals, with these cars that are for sale in a certain area. And that's always a problem after these flood incidents, is that, they may go to auction, they may try to, there's unscrupulous dealers that are out there that are going to try to sell you a flooded car. And, you can always kind of find tips and advice online of how to find a flooded car. There's some things that you can look at in the engine bay or peel up the carpet. But it's always one of those things, if the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. So that's the biggest thing that we see, is kind of the fraud and the fraudulent things that come in after these storms, whether it's contractors working on your home, auto repair shops, or buying a flood damaged car.
Yeah. And you guys definitely have to mediate between that too, and who you're giving your money to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about, filing claims within these next couple of days?
Yeah, have patience. There's going to be a lot of claims. The insurance companies are, they're trying to work hard, do what they can. The other thing, look into that flood insurance, see if you can, get a policy. There's a 30-day waiting period on most of these policies. So if you buy a flood policy today, it's not going to come into effect for another 30 days. So that's something else to think about. And the other thing is, look at your coverages, not just your flood coverage, but anything else. We've seen a lot of inflation, and the cost to rebuild homes right now is going through the roof. No pun intended, but roofs are more expensive, copper wiring is more expensive, fuel is more expensive, everything is going up in price. So that policy that you bought, 10, 12, a year ago, the cost to rebuild your home may be significantly higher than it was when you bought that policy. So maybe get a contractor or an appraiser out to see what it would cost to rebuild your home, not the cost to sell or buy your home, but the cost to rebuild, because those prices are going to be different.
Something else that an event like this can trigger, especially if you're buying a new car, is the importance of getting that gap insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So usually the banks will sell you gap insurance. Some insurance companies will also add it to your policy if you want, but that's the difference between what your car is worth and what your loan is. And so, let's say you buy a new car, you drive it off the lot, you have a flood the next day, your car is totaled, or you're in a car accident. Your car is now worth, because you drove it off the lot, say 20% different than what that sticker price was, or a month down the road. So making sure that you have that insurance to cover everything that you owe and what your car is worth. So yeah, good point.
Again, that is Rich Johnson with the Insurance Council of Texas. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.